Carthage Courier is one of the oldest newspapers in our viewing area. Recently, the Courier turned 100 years old, a fact that did not go unnoticed. What exactly are we doing here today?
Well, today we're celebrating the 100-year birthday, I guess you would say, of the Carthage Courier. They've been in this community for 100 years, giving us the news and really supporting the community.
How valuable would you say that has been over the years? Because in those years, the only media type of representation any community would have been a newspaper.
Well, if you go back through the archives and you look at that, you find out that it was invaluable. I'd say that there's no way to place a value on it because it was the only means that they had of getting information out. And the Courier was right there, right in the middle, in the thick of things from almost the beginning.
Just in this conference room, I'm looking at former pictures, or pictures, I should say, of former Vice President Gore, former Governor Alexander, things like that. I mean, the paper has always been around, haven't they?
Oh, yeah. They've been here for every event. If there was anything that was exciting happening or anything that was a big event, paper's been right there. They've been real good.
Why has this been such maybe an important thing to do for you all? I mean, why did you think it was such a good idea to honor the newspaper and their owner?
Well, when you have an asset in your community that's like we've been saying all along here, so valuable, every once in a while somebody needs to realize that they are that way, and we wanted these folks to realize that we appreciate what they do.
Be it resolved by the House of Representatives on the 108th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, the Senate concurring, that we honor and commend a very distinguished business, the Carthage Courier, upon the very special occasion of the newspaper's 100th anniversary on July 3rd, 2013.
How long have you owned the Carthage Courier?
Since 1976.
And why did you decide at that point that you wanted to buy the paper?
Well, I had been editor-publisher of the Cookeville Herald-Citizen for 6.5 years, and I was a minority owner there, and I wanted to own my own newspaper. So I called Roberta Neal and told her if she was ever interested in selling the paper, I would be interested. And she called me back in about January '76, and I remember coming down the first time, and it was snowing, had been snowing, and we met at Miss Neal's house up at Chestnut Mile, I guess it is, up that way. And Bill Rackley was there. He was the first person I met. I met him at the door. That was Miss Neal's son-in-law, and then we talked and cut a deal. I'm not sure, I don't think it was immediate, but there was a lot of negotiation going on. It took a while, so we closed it and took over in March of '76.
And 37 years later, you're still the owner. How's it gone over these past 37 years?
It's been great. I've really enjoyed it. Of course, I was here for like 8.5 years where I actually worked at the paper. And I love Carthage, and I love the Courier, and Scott does a great job for me now.
And now we're celebrating 100 years of the newspaper. Is it, just if you can't put into words what that means?
Oh, it's just great to have survived that long, and to have been the paper of Smith County all this time. People here were just so wonderful to me all over the county. Like I say, we just loved it here, and I hated to leave, but I bought Pulaski, and it was a little bit bigger paper, and it was also halfway home. And all my family's in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. My mother was still alive at that time, and I was going down a lot and all, so it was just more convenient for me to drive there and back than it was to come all the way to Carthage.
So you live in Pulaski now?
Yeah, I own the paper there, and I'm still semi-active. I go to the office every day. The boys run it, but I hang around a little bit.
And since you've owned the paper here in Carthage, maybe a big story or two that you all covered that you can remember, that something just come to your mind right off the bat?
Oh, gee, I was trying to remember. There were so many. I remember one of the most interesting things I had was the county court was voting on, I guess it was a new school, and I talked to one of the commissioners and I said, now you need to support this, and because we need better education. And he says, I'm not going to do it. He said, I have a tobacco patch, and said my son can always raise tobacco and make a living. And of course he was completely wrong, and I couldn't persuade him to change his mind though. But there were a lot of interesting elections back those days. Of course, Al Gore, and I knew Al. I know him very well, and we were friends. I remember the first time he ran for election. Well, funny thing happened. My wife may kill me for telling this, but she was down here, and I was still working out my notice in Cookeville, and she told me, said, you know, a young man came in today with his mother and announced he was running for Congress. And she thought it was sort of funny, you know. Of course, he was only 28 at the time, and he looked like a kid, and he was a young 28. And I said, "What's his name?" And she told me, and I said, "Jerry, that's serious." And she said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah. The reason he came with his mother was because of her connection to the paper, that she and Roberta Neal were best of friends." And but I thought that was funny. But I tell you, the week before we bought the Courier, before we took over the Courier, my wife didn't sleep for a week because she couldn't believe we'd spent all that money, you know, and of course she never liked to owe anybody anything. And if you're going to own properties, you got to owe people. But it turned out to be a good investment.
And you've really enjoyed it, it sounds like.
Oh, I've loved it. It's been great. Like I say, the people here are just so fantastic, and I still have a lot of friends.
100 years and still going strong. Here's wishing the Courier another 100 years of success. Reporting in Carthage, Barry Hyatt, NCTV.